Lance Cummins is the founder and president of Nectafy, which is a content marketing agency. I worked for Lance at Nectafy for 8 years. And Lance taught me a lot about what I know about running a remote business, managing people, how to operate a business, how to think about where things are going in the business world too. And particularly now, I know, Lance, you've been thinking and talking a lot about AI and the impact on your type of business, especially like content creation, which I'm feeling too. So just to sort of set the stage here, it felt like to me, and I want you to share your own take on where things are, but it felt like to me when ChatGPT came out, that was the first one where I really saw it and said, let's say you were going to write a blog post for yourself or for a client. The cost of doing that at a very baseline level just went from a few $100s to a few pennies or a few dollars overnight. And that is really seems to be throwing content creation on its head. So I wanted to bring you on, Lance, to sort of ask you about the state of AI, like where things might be going, how it's affecting your business. So, you know, what's your take on where we are with AI today?
So first of all, I love getting to talk to you, as you already know that. So thanks for recording this conversation instead of us just losing stuff into the ether. So this is a lot of fun. I mean, I agree with you. When GPT came out beginning of last year, or I guess the version that I became aware of, maybe there were versions before that I haven't done enough research on that to know. It went from sort of being this sort of oddball thing that was happening in the background. So there were several AI writing platforms. I think even when you were still working at Nectafy, we were maybe doing some reviews of those and talking about how bad they were and snickering, like, oh, this is funny. This will never replace humans ever. This is so hilarious. And then I think when they rolled out GPT, I think the reason that felt so big is like for the first time, we all saw things and we went, wait a minute, really? Right? There was like this moment where we all stopped laughing and then go, oh, okay, now what's about to happen? So for me, at least, I don't know exactly the date that all happened, but somewhere at the beginning of last year, 2023, was when it first like started to hit me. Like this isn't just a gadget, or this isn't just some layer of technology that's going to be a thing that we add to our arsenal. This is a game changer. I think my initial reaction was fear. Probably most people's is when they first encounter some new technology. And then as I've learned more about it, as I've seen how it's developed, it's more of a fascination, but a fascination of when is this thing finally going to put us under? How about that? Yeah. That's the fascination.
So why do you say that? What are you seeing in your business day to day that's telling you this is going to put us under at some point?
Yeah. So first of all, you know me pretty well because we've known each other for a long time. I am given to hyperbole. So I don't know that it's actually going to put us under, but I do think it is going to radically change how people, at least in my industry, operate. So just to clarify, so I have a content marketing agency that we have always prided ourselves in high quality content that gets results, right? So, and in our world, results meant getting organic traffic to the site, hopefully also getting some conversion to customers and so forth. So that is my world. So when I'm talking about AI, just so everybody who's listening understands, this is sort of where I'm thinking. Now, I realize AI is way huger than this, and the kind of the existential questions about AI, I am not qualified in the least to talk about. But just how it deals with content, it's very much a game changer in the sense that the tools themselves sort of change where the floor is. And I think this is actually what technology always does. I've actually been, I don't know if you've seen these, but there's shows on Netflix maybe or Prime that are Tudor farm, Victorian farm, Edwardian farm, and these are some historians that go live on these farms, and they basically for a year do life the way that it was done. And then they're like, we're extrapolating lessons. So that has been really instructive for me to see these shows while we're talking about new technology that will completely upend how we think about work, because that's exactly what was happening in these different eras of time. And it's fascinating to me because the fear is always that technology is going to destroy. But what it does is it really just recalibrates what like the default bottom line is, right? Like it basically moves up the bottom. It gives everybody a chance to get better at some point. The people who are at the top honestly don't get affected by it too much, but it gobbles everything up on the way to the top and just leaves a little bit of stuff there at the top of those folks who are amazing at writing, amazing at getting results, amazing at thinking creatively. Or if you're an artist, you do things that nobody else is really thinking of, you're still fine. It's all of those of us who are like making a living from that middle. Yep. That we're the ones who honestly get hit in the middle here, because now everybody can do almost as good as we can do. And a lot of people with these tools could actually do what we do probably for a lot less money, which then makes it a business proposition where how do we even fit into the market if we're 3 times more expensive for just slightly better experience? Yep. By the way, if you're a customer of Nectafy, please don't think that I am suggesting that you should do AI instead of us. But I think that's where eventually this goes, right? Like you're changing the nature of what it means to be really good in that industry.
Yeah, and you said something in there that was interesting, how technology throughout history always just raises the floor. It's weird, but it turns the previous way of doing something from like a necessity into a luxury, which is interesting too. So like riding a horse was how you got somewhere, and now it's a luxury. Writing somebody a letter and sending the snail mail used to be the way you communicate, and now it's like a nice gesture. And you could keep going with all of those. So reading somebody...
You could get into the farming thing too, by the way. So what's the biggest rage now? It's organically grown vegetables, right? We want someone who's out there with a shovel digging up the ground. We don't want the machines and the chemicals and the, all this stuff.
Right, which becomes the high-end product of the market, which is the previous way of doing it. Yeah, it's crazy. But this AI revolution, that the minute you saw ChatGPT, you felt like this was something big. Does it compare to specific other revolutions in history that you can think about, like how it would completely upend an industry?
I don't know. I mean, obviously I've read a lot about history, and it's not a very fair view, because we tend to look back and we only highlight the people who really caught on to what was going on at any given moment in history. But I mean, I would compare it to like, the printing press. I imagine the first people who became aware of the printing press pretty instantly figured out, like all those scribes and all of the guys who've been the sole keepers of producing knowledge, they had to have seen immediately that was a problem. You have like the famous Luddite group. I think they were weavers, if I'm correct. So they were hand weaving cloth, and when they saw the mechanized looms come in, they basically tried to destroy all of them, because they immediately saw this thing as a game changer for us. So yeah, I mean, there definitely have been those watershed moments. I mean, obviously, especially in the last 500 years, that you instantly, when you see the technology, go, whoa, okay. I didn't think that was ever going to be possible.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about the content creation industry, because essentially every business has that as a component of it. You're and what we mean by that is you're writing a blog post, or you're sending an email to your list of leads or customers, or you're posting a YouTube video, or your whole business is posting TikTok videos and making money off of advertising or something. Any of that can be content creation. So what do you think it can do well, AI, from what you've played around with? What can it do well in your world right now? And also, what can it not do well yet?
Yeah. So I'm going to start with the second one because I feel better about that one. So what can it not do well? I still think it struggles in its existing models. Obviously, they're always releasing new models, and it's getting trained supposedly on better and better data. Although I have some disagreements with that. So what it doesn't do well is it still doesn't really, at least how we've seen it produce, it doesn't seem to really get much of a point of view. Like, it doesn't really have much of a perspective, which I guess, I mean, honestly, I've never participated in a scientifically blind test of seeing which articles were handwritten, which were written by AI. The sense that I get every time I've read an AI written article is the words are there, and even they're sometimes cleverly done, but we're missing like a perspective, or we're missing sort of almost that pathos of what I think and feel about that topic. That could be me just projecting onto something I perceive as not having emotion, but it doesn't seem like that's the case yet. In terms of what it does well, it does a fantastic job of quickly gathering a ton of ideas together. I don't know that it always presents them in a very coherent way, but it certainly is a fantastic way to start your own thinking about something, especially compared to something as terrifying as a blank page. So, I mean, if you think about it, you've written hundreds and hundreds of articles yourself. Mm-hmm. I've written some stuff. Probably one of the most terrifying moments is when you like open the Google Doc, right? Or open the Word doc back in the day, or just take out a blank piece of paper and you start the writing process. Like, it's super intimidating. So we've developed all these steps as humans of like, all right, bullet point some things, throw some words on a piece of paper. All right, now try to turn that into an outline. Okay, what's the angle going to be? We're kind of building this. AI is great at like short circuiting all of that process. And when you see words, now you can actually use your creativity based on these ideas that you're seeing in front of you, and sort of almost speeds up the development process.
Yeah.
At least that's how I've seen it be useful in my own process.
Yep. I've seen the same. It's a good head start. It can replace an average writer or already. I mean, it's like you've talked about that top talent won't be affected, but it can already do a better job than somebody writing on a topic that they don't know about who is an average writer. It's as good or better already. And then that's 3 cents of electricity to generate it instead of $150 or something.
There are a couple of things there, by the way. So I agree. So the big thing that is hard for writers to understand is that there is a large section of the world who just aren't very good at writing. I mean, they wouldn't even claim that they are. So they just struggle with writing. So they have these great ideas. Maybe they're good at talking. Maybe they're good at some other form of communication, but writing itself is a skill, right? So you have, like, I don't even know what percentage. Let's just make up a percentage. 15% of the world just literally is terrible at writing. I think the number is probably higher than that, but let's say 15%. This tool takes that 15% down to like almost zero. So you just introduced 15% of the population with more ideas that we haven't heard from. And now they've got a tool to sort of get the rough draft out there. Mm-hmm. Now, if they just hit publish on an AI generated thing, that's not going to be great. But if they use this as a source for, okay, now I'm going to take this to somebody who can help me actually communicate what I'm trying to say here, I think it's a fantastic thing. One reason why it sounds so, or one of the reasons I'm not concerned that it's going to take over that top echelon is when we talk about training data, it's been trained on all of the words on the internet, from what I can tell. I mean, I know there's some,
Yeah.
That just means it's been trained on average data.
Right.
So that's one of the things I have a problem with when they say it's going to get smarter and smarter. Well, kinda, you're still limited to the data that you're getting trained on, and it's still going to be on average. You're not going to have the extremes, and it's not going to always be the extreme, or it won't be an extreme anymore. You know what I'm saying? All that analytical stuff. So yeah, it's average data, which improves a good chunk of people's writing potential.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's like a chicken and the egg thing happening too, because it's like assessing all the things that have been written on the data on the internet, all the data on the internet, which has been written by humans until now. But then if AI kicks out all the humans, it's just going to be AI copying AI writing, which just like spirals it into blandness over time.
Yep.
And then if you even go a step farther, like let's say it is supposedly up to date now, certain versions of it, I think you can get it up to date, where it used to be like 18 months ago, the data was stuck. But somebody actually has to physically write the first articles on a news topic of something that happened. If an earthquake happened, the AI is not going to know, right? I mean, I run the risk of sounding like an idiot in 6 months because how quickly it changes. But how does that all work out if it kicks out all the humans, but the AI uses the humans' information to repurpose it? Where do you see all that going?
It's a great question. I don't know. It feels like, it almost feels like a game in the sense of we're impressed that it can act like us, but if we were actually out of the loop, would we be so impressed?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Because even in the modern training models, right? Like training literally is a human, as I understand it, telling the algorithm good job or not good job, right? Yeah. It's basically like saying, hey, you did this well. Well, at some point, I guess AI becomes the trainer of the AI. I don't know. And that gets into stuff that's, who knows what that even means. But yeah, I mean, it does seem like there's a limit, let's say, to the effectiveness of where it can go. And like you've already alluded to, new technology does not typically mean that all the old technology gets blown away. It just means that the value and the nature of that old technology changes, right? Now there becomes the moment where I want real human created content, and I'm willing to pay a substantial amount of money for it. I can see really, really wealthy people having status-driven things done by humans that all of us common people have to have AI do for us, right?
Oh. It's the organic. It's organic food. It's the handmade furniture. It's the same thing, right?
Yeah, I think so. It's pretty fascinating how, I mean, essentially stuff goes from being a staple to being, like you said, a luxury item, and actually probably goes up in value. It's just that fewer people are going to be doing it. So you have that, I'm sure that supply and demand in there somehow.
Yeah.
And also, like I was reading, somebody was talking about painters. Like painting will get more and more valuable for the few who will be able to do it well, but will also get more and more expensive because the companies who currently produce all of the paints probably won't produce as many, which means they have to charge more, which means even just the raw materials for a painter get more expensive, plus additionally their time and the demand, right? And so a painting that maybe cost $2,000 now is going to cost $150,000 20 years from now, and somebody's happy to pay it.
So then that brings us to maybe the last big question I want to ask you is, what if you're in like a sales cycle or you're running a business, what are the customers or what are people going to want from humans, and what are they going to be okay with having delivered from AI?
Hmm. It it really, when we talk about customers, we have to be clear that there are all different types of customers, right? There are there are customers of commodities, there are customers of luxury goods, there are customers of high, very high threshold of I want the nicest thing, and I'm willing to only have a few of them, versus the I want lots of things and I'm willing for it to be okay. I mean, you look at that now, right? So like you could go to Hobby Lobby and get all sorts of art that has been mass produced, and they've negotiated the price down low enough that all of us common folk can handle it. And we fill our houses with these signs and weird things that, because we're, very pleased with it. But a real lover of art is not going to be going to Hobby Lobby to try to pick up these weird mass-produced pieces of junk. Sorry for anyone who's buying for Hobby Lobby, but they're discriminatory. They like understand or think they understand or feel like they should understand what makes this more valuable. And so I think that really it's about, from the standpoint of what people want from humans, is we want someone to feel something. We want someone to feel that there was human emotion put into something, human effort put into something. I think, honestly, I know this isn't what this discussion is about, but think about like professional sports. It's basically like the only live thing that people really get into right now on TV, right? So that's why the advertisers are paying ridiculous amounts of money and streamers are all trying to get their piece of the pie. It's not just we like to see sports. There's this very emotional concept of like, when you watch a football game or a basketball game, it's like, those are my people and this helps me feel like better about myself and I'm winning, and is like this entire emotional thing, right? I don't see that getting replaced by AI in sports or outside that. Like, I think that there has to be this one thing that humans are good at, and it's sort of this mysterious emotional component of make me feel something, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Maybe AI can figure that out, because I think one of the struggles I have with AI is apparently the way that we use words is how we communicate emotion, and AI has figured out how we use words. So there's this whole argument that if you say the same words, you should be able to generate the same emotion. There's just part of me that questions that, maybe because I love being a human, but that's where I think. I mean, I think it's got to be about how we feel, right? Like that, you make me feel something. I feel that you put something of yourself into this, and that makes it worth us having a transaction about.
So if that is part of your sales process or part of your product, people still might want the humans. If it's totally commoditized, like an average to below average blog post that no one needs to feel anything or wants to feel anything by reading it, that's getting commoditized away, like you said.
I think absolutely. I mean, I think when I was talking about that floor coming up, like basically that floor coming up is just sort of gobbling up all of everyone that's down here on the floor and everything up to the middle. And I'm thinking eventually it runs out of appetite and it leaves the few people at the top that can still do their thing. But otherwise, it's definitely, if you're a business person, it makes sense at some point to use AI to replace humans. It just does. It can do it cheaper. It can do it more consistently. It does it okay. Or it does it well enough for the price point that you're at.
Yep.
And of course, it's going to create a whole different type of job. It's going to create things that we've never even thought of that humans probably will be just fine at doing.
Yep.
It's who knows what those are. So it's not all doom and gloom. It's just definitely a giant unknown, especially if you're in the middle of an industry, not at the top of an industry.
Lance, thank you for coming on. I will include in the show notes, wherever you're watching this, links to nectafy.com and to your LinkedIn account. Is there anywhere else you'd want to send people?
No, that'd be great. I really appreciate it. It's always good getting to talk to you.
You too, Lance. Thanks for coming on.
I wish I had more positive news, more positive things to say, because I don't like to be negative, but it's been good.
I appreciate it.